You've created your first DLP policy, but what more can DLP do for you? Let's take a look at some of the more advanced features. So managing DLP policies requires the correct permissions, and in Purview, roles control who can create, edit, view, and manage those DLP policies. Let's take a look at some of the roles that can be applicable to this process. So we're already in Purview here. Let's navigate to Settings, Roles and Scopes, and let's go to Role Groups. The first role group that is applicable here is the Compliance Administrator role. This will give full access to create, edit, and delete DLP policies. Next, we have Compliance Data Administrator. This can manage DLP and other compliance features as well. And with all of these roles, you can see the role group name if you click on them and the roles within the role group. And you can see those distinctions there that are applicable. You can also use roles like Security Reader to view DLP policies and reports, but not edit. And in this case, I am logged in as a global administrator because this is a demo environment and it's just easier for demo purposes. But as ever, I will encourage you to ensure the correct permissions are assigned to the correct people for their needs. Use the principle of least privilege and do try to use just-in-time permissions as well. Now we'll take a look at configuring DLP for adaptive protection. And this is done within Microsoft Purview Compliance Portal and navigating to Solutions and Insider Risk Management. So what is adaptive protection? It is a powerful feature that uses risk signals to dynamically adjust DLP policy enforcement. This is how it works. We have integration with Insider Risk Management. So everything you do here really is from the Insider Risk Management portal to begin with, at least. And adaptive protection can automatically apply stricter DLP controls to users who exhibit certain risky behavior, such as downloading large amounts of sensitive data. In the Purview portal, you enable adaptive protection and define risk levels and corresponding DLP actions. What are the use cases? Well, an example would be if a user is flagged as high risk, DLP can block sharing of sensitive files, while low-risk users may only receive warnings. And this dynamic approach helps balance security and productivity, focusing enforcement where it's needed the most. So let's take a look at how we use adaptive protection. We're already within Insider Risk Management on the overview screen, and you'll note here we have adaptive protection. Let's go through what it does for us, and we'll collapse this side panel. We go to our dashboard where it gives us a summary of current policies being used for adaptive protection and users currently protected by policies due to their assigned insider risk levels. As we move through, we can go and set the insider risk levels. So these define how risky a user's activity is and can be based on criteria such as how many exfiltration activities they performed or whether their activity generated a higher severity insider risk alert. Furthermore, if the policy you specify detects user activity that matches the insider risk levels you define below here in this section, and the levels are included as a condition of a DLP policy or conditional access policy, then the DLP or conditional access policy will be enforced for that user. And we can see here, we have drop down here and we can select certain things here. We've got adaption protection policy for insider risk management there, select data leaks policy, data theft by departing users, etc., etc. So conditions for these insider risk levels, we can choose the built-in conditions or edit the risk level to create your own. So we've got an elevated risk level here. And in this scenario, the user performs at least 3 sequences, each with a high severity risk score, 67 to 100. And we can drop that down and we can tweak that, or we can edit it from the side here as well. We've got a moderate risk level where This involves performing at least 2 data exfiltration activities, each with a high severity risk score, again 67 to 100, and the minor risk level is 1 activity. So very, very easy to tweak and edit, as you can see. In fact, let's just click on edit here and we can see more detail in terms of how we could customize this. So the insider risk level is based on a single user activity here. We could alter it to be an alert generated or confirmed for a user. And we can see what the user activity condition confirms here. The activities such as downgrading or removing a label, then exfiltrate, and lots of categories here that we can see are available to us, like sharing SharePoint content and so on and so forth. The activity severity here is set to above, a high risk score of 67 to 100. We can tweak that if we want to as well. And the activity occurs during a detection window, so we can specify the number of times selected activities must be detected within the specified past activity detection period. And this number isn't related to the number of events that might occur for an activity. For example, if the policy detects that a user downloaded 20 files from SharePoint in 1 day, that counts as 1 daily activity consisting of 20 events. So you have an optional checkbox here where you can assign this risk level to any user who has a future alert confirmed, even if the conditions above aren't met. So you can see there's a lot of flexibility here in terms of what you can set up. Past activity detection determines how far back adaptive protection will go to detect whether a user meets the conditions defined by any of the insider risk levels, and it only applies to risk levels that are based on a user's daily activity. But we are interested specifically here in DLP. I've set the scene a little bit in terms of overall adaptive protection. We will be looking at insider risk management in more detail later on in this video series. So let's have a look at DLP here, and we can see that we have 3 policies here that are tied to insider risk level for adaptive protection. Let's take a look at this one in the middle here, this adaptive protection policy for Exchange and Teams, and we get a little brief description here in terms of what it's doing. It's actually testing without notifications in this case, so it's not fully on yet, and it's set to be the default adaption protection policy for Teams and Exchange locations. Shows you where it applies. Exchange and Teams is what we would expect, and the insider risk levels available to us are elevated, moderate, and minor. If we click to edit the policy, we can have a deeper look at what's going on inside it and make some changes if we need to. Let's skip right ahead to where we want to be, which is the location. So we can see we've got Exchange and Teams selected. That's great. Let's go into the advanced DLP rules, and we have got 2 rules set up here. If we expand them, we can see at a glance that we have a low volume or a moderate or minor risk volume in this case, if you like, which is the bottom one. So the content is shared from Microsoft 365 with people outside my organization, and the insider risk level for adaptive protection is moderate or a minor risk level. The actions are to notify users with email and policy tips and send alerts to an administrator. Slightly more aggressive in the higher volume rule, if you like. If the insider risk level for adaptive protection is elevated risk levels, we do a bit more. We notify, same again with email and policy tips, but we will, in addition to sending alerts to the administrator, we will restrict access to the content for external users. So a nice little summary there, and we can go in and edit that rule, and you can see here what that looks like. It's a typical DLP rule that we've seen already with the name, the description, and the content is shared outside. These are the conditions. But here we can have insider risk level for adaptive protection, as you see, and we can change that as needed. We could add in the other risk levels there if we wanted to, and we can add in further conditions if we needed to. And here is where we're taking the actions, this being the more restrictive one. So we're going to do some block actions there for people outside the organization. Next, let's talk a little bit about interpreting policy and rule precedence. So When multiple DLP policies or rules apply to the same content, the precedence determines which action is enforced. And you can see we have a lot of DLP policies here in this demo tenant that I have. I've probably got way too many in actual fact, purely because I've done lots of demos for lots of videos, and I do need to tidy this up a little bit. So let's have a talk about policy precedence. And the policies are evaluated in order. The first policy that matches is applied. And then if you set it in the rule, no further policies are evaluated for that content. So we can see here that the priority is shown going from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. So if I wanted to select this second one down, the default DLP policy for teams, for example, I can move that up, I can move it down, I can move it to the bottom being the lowest priority, or I can move it to the top being the highest priority, and it will do exactly that. And it takes a few seconds, but there it appears right at the top now. So within the policy as well, the rules are also evaluated in order. So the first matching rules are enforced. So if you have more than one rule within a policy, as we saw in the previous example we just did with insider risk management, then it will go through them in that order. So as a tip, make sure that you place the most restrictive or critical policies and rules at the top of your lists. Understanding this precedence is very, very important for troubleshooting and ensuring the right protections are in place for your organization. You may be asked about this in the exam as well, so do make sure you understand it. The final thing we're going to look at in this video is creating file policies in Microsoft Defender for Cloud Apps. So DLP isn't limited to Microsoft 365 workloads, and with Defender for Cloud Apps, you can extend DLP to third-party cloud services like Box and Dropbox and Google. This involves creating a file policy. So go to Defender for Cloud Apps portal, which is security.microsoft.com. Navigate to Cloud Apps, Policies, and Policy Management. And here we can create a policy, and we're going to select a file policy. So we could use a template here if we wanted to, but I'm going to give it a specific set of settings. So we will put in DLP policy. And the category is DLP, which is fine. And we will just put in policy for sensitive sharing of content, DLP. And then we can put in some of the filters that we want here. So we've got some content in here already. Access level equals public, etc., etc. And last modified date. You can take that out if you want to, but add in specifically the filters that you want. So in this case, I'm going to put in file type equals document or spreadsheet, and you can put whatever filters in that you want. And you can choose whether to apply this to all files or excluding selected folders and so on and so forth. Now here we need to select the inspection method, and what we need to do here is select the data classification service and match if any or the following occur, and we can change this to any or all and choose our inspection type. So we can choose between sensitive information type, exact data match, fingerprint, trainable classifiers, all the good stuff we've done before earlier in this series. We'll do sensitive information type just as an example, and we can select a couple here that we can put in and select done. And there we go. And from here we can choose to inspect the protected files, and this policy will inspect the content of Microsoft information protection, protected files. We can unmask the last 4 characters of a match. So by default, matches are completely masked and shown in their context, 40 characters before and after the match. So check this option to unmask so we can do that if need be. And then we can choose the alerts that we want for each matching file. We can save as default settings or restore default settings. We can send alert as email, set the daily alert per policy limits, and we can do stuff in Power Automate as well by creating playbooks. And then finally, we can create governance actions, what to do if we've got a match here for this DLP behavior. We can send policy match digest, we can notify, we can make private, we can apply sensitivity label, which is really cool as well for OneDrive and for SharePoint. And we can go ahead and create that policy. So that's nice and simple way of using Defender for Cloud Apps in conjunction with DLP. So there you go, some really cool stuff. Adaptive protection is a big plus for me, one of my favorite features. Go check it out and do let me know how you get on. That is going to do it for this video. I'll be back with another one very, very soon in this SC-401 exam guide series. I do hope you're enjoying it. If you have been, please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell. In the meantime, you all take care, stay safe, and do please travel well. See you next time. Bye-bye.